This story was written in 10 minutes as part of a writing challenge. The challenge's stipulation was just to write a horror story involving ducks in 10 minutes. And this was the entry. It seemed weird this part of the park could be so empty. True, it was a large park, plenty of trees, ponds, and playgrounds, but still. Jeff had never seen anyone at this part of the park before. The water was clear blue, a lot of small fish swimming around, a flock of healthy ducks gliding across the top. The trees seemed to form a wall around the pond in a comfy, private way, perfect for his picnic with Cleo. He picked a spot near the water, laid out the blankets, and started to unpack the basket as Cleo continued to talk about the latest book she had finished reading. He had already read it, and loved the story, instantly recommending the book to her. He was glad to hear she loved his suggestion. They chatted on as they started to dig into the food, the ducks slowly making their way to the edge of the water. Cleo was tossing pieces of bread to them, but they didn't seem to notice. They continued to get closer though. Jeff noticed Cleo was starting to slow in her chatter as she also watched the ducks. They slowly tossed bread in front of the ducks, but it laid there, unnoticed. There seemed to be more ducks than they first realized, and they started to circle in on them. Jeff jumped to his feet, pulling Cleo up. "I don't care if this makes me a chicken, but I'm starting to freak out. Let's get out of here." Cleo nodded, and they started towards the small break in the trees they had entered from. Jeff shouted and made a lunging motion at the ducks, but they didn't flee. Instead, they flapped their wings frantically, opening their mouths, screaming back at them, rows of sharp teeth slicing through the air. Before Cleo could get out her scream, the ducks flew on top of them, ripping out their throats and devouring their flesh and bones. Squirrels and chipmunks rushed from the trees, gathering the remaining picnic and hurrying away before the ducks could notice their presence. When all the flesh and bone was gone, the ducks, one by one, dove into the water, washing away the remaining blood on their feathers. The lush ground soaked up the blood, the dirt and grass seeming to become a little darker, richer, and a little more alive. A few of the smaller ducklings did the best they could to gather up the blanket and baskets and carried them to the bottom of the lake, kicking up mud to cover the objects to prevent them from floating to the top. When finished, the ducklings returned to the surface. All was peaceful, clean, and quiet. Hopefully, the next meal will arrive soon though. They were still slightly hungry.